Please be seated. Thank you. His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, Governor General of Jamaica and Chairman of the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship Selection Committee, Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, the Honorable Marcia Smith, Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, Ambassador Douglas Saunders, Cabinet Secretary. A special welcome to Dr. Julius Garvey. Mr. Wayne Jones, Deputy Financial Secretary of the Strategic Human Resource Management Division at the Ministry of Finance. Mrs. Jacqueline Mendez, Chief Personnel Officer, Office of the Services Commission. Dr. Diana Thorburn, Director Research of Capri. Ms. Nikisha Walsh of the Student Loan Bureau. Dr. Tanisha Ingleton, Managing Director of Hart NSTA, members of the Selection Committee, members of the Civil Service, scholarship recipients, other specially invited guests, members of the media, and those joining us online. Good morning and welcome to the award ceremony for the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship. My name is Camille Sinclair, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies during this morning's proceedings. Last year, when we had the first staging of this event, the weather wasn't much like this. It was very different. Today would be a perfect day for a march, don't you think? Looking ready? Yes. Picture it, men and women in their uniforms in orderly fashion, marching to unify and connect people of African descent. This awards program is as ambitious as the man after whom it is named, as we continue to reflect on Jamaica 60, long before 1962 when we gained independence. A black man, a man of the soil, was stirring up a consciousness of black pride and mental liberation outside of Jamaica. Messages that would have influence and power across the world. Marcus Mosiah Garvey knew the power of words as he was exposed to them through books collected by his father. Garvey believed, just as the government of Jamaica believes, that education is the cornerstone of a developed nation and the key to unlocking the potential of a man or woman. God and nature first made us what we are, and then out of our own created genius, we make ourselves what we want to be. Follow always that great law. Let the sky and God be our limit and eternity our measurement. The words of Marcus Garvey. I now invite Miss Anisha Lancaster to pray over today's event.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, we thank you for your faithfulness. We thank you for life. We thank you for health. We thank you for strength. We thank you for a gathering such as this, dearest God, where your people, members of the public service in this country, have been able to gather together to be awarded to go forward in their personal and professional development. We pray, dear God, that you be in the midst of us and that, Lord, you remember in this room His Excellency, Lord, as he continue to be led with your divine wisdom and for you to protect him and to cover him. Remember, Lord, the Prime Minister of this country, his cabinet, the leaders of opposition, and all those that give governance to this land that we love. We pray, God, that their service will be selfless, that their contribution will be one that will make Jamaica indeed a better place. We pray, dear God, for the recipients today, that as we continue to go forward and to be progressive, it will not be a case where we do so considering ourselves only, but we'll recognize that we have the opportunity to make our workplace, to make our community, to make our world a better place, one person one job at a time. We pray, Lord, that you continue to cover each and every person. Grant each and every request that is made before you today. Let this morning's proceedings go without error, without any inefficiency, but help us to be as productive as Jamaican civil servants. Help us together, one at a time, heart and souls united, to make this place a better place, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity as we play our parts to advance the welfare of this country and the world at large. These and other mercies we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lancaster. Perfect way to start our program off today. Now, of the 11 children that Marcus Garvey Sr. and Sarah Jane Richards had, Marcus Garvey Jr. was one of 2 who survived until adulthood. Did you know that the child that came into this world on this day in 1887 was going to do more than make it to adulthood, but would leave a legacy that 135 years later still awakens our spirits to action? The chairman of the selection committee, a former educator, knows all too well about the importance of education. I now invite His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, to give his remarks.
Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, the Honorable Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, the Honorable Marcia Smith, Cabinet Secretary, members of the Marcus Garvey Scholarship Technical Secretariat, and also of the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, including the members of the Marcus Garvey Graduate Scholarship Selection Panel, Dr. Julius Garvey, son of the late Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Dr. Tanisha Ingleton, Managing Director of Heart NTSA Trust, other leaders within the public service, award recipients and their guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to King's House for the second presentation of awards to the recipients of the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship. This morning is supposed to be an exciting, reflective, and a happy morning for so many of us. And I am pleased that, Mr. Jones, are you here? Oh, there you are. You're masked for a moment. I am pleased that you called upon me again this year, which I gladly and willingly accepted, to work with an illustrious panel that you have given to be the panel involved in the selection of the recipients of the Marcus Garvey Scholarship. On the panel also was our Cabinet Secretary, Ambassador, the Honorable Douglas Saunders, Ms. Darlene Morrison, the Financial Secretary. I'm not sure if Ms. Morrison is here today. No. Mrs. Jacqueline Mendez. Oh, there you are, Mrs. Mendez. She is the Chief Personnel Officer in the Office of the Services Commission. Professor Stephen Vassiani is Prof here? No. And Dr., of course, everybody knows Prof. He is the Professor of International Law, University of the West Indies, among other titles that he has had in service to the nation. And Dr. Diana Thorborn. Oh, there you are, Dr. Thorborn. It's a pleasure to meet you in person. We conducted these panel, the interviews, by Zoom. And so you know how Zoom is. When you see someone on Zoom, they are not as beautiful as you see them up front. You surpass Zoom, Dr. Thorborn. I must confess to you, ladies and gentlemen, that I enjoy the interactions with the candidates, the members of the selection committee, and I am sure that the same sentiments would be expressed by the members of the panel. I commend the committee, the panel, I should say, for their insight, their impartiality during the interview process, as well as the sacrifice of their time and their very busy schedule. Thank you. This year we interviewed 17 candidates over a period of 2 days. We were very impressed with their talent, their passion, their ambition, and their plans for Jamaica. My confidence in Jamaica's future, I must tell you, was strengthened and renewed as I recognize that we have some very bright, smart, sharp young people in this country who genuinely want to prepare themselves optimally to make a worthwhile contribution to our country's development. My only disappointment, DFS, was that we didn't have more candidates. Can you imagine? We have 30 scholarships available every year, and this year we only had 17 persons taking up those scholarships. If the media is here and listening, I would ask that you assist us. Did I say us, Mr. And specifically the Ministry of Finance in advertising the scholarships. The Minister of Finance announced to the nation that they have put aside a couple $2 billion over a period of time to educate our youngsters and to make them competent to serve in the public sector. That deserves our applause. Last year, we reviewed and interviewed 48 candidates, 30 of whom were awarded. This year, we're reviewing 17. We reviewed 17, rather. And if there was any disappointment, that was a disappointment. We have to work on ensuring that every graduate in Jamaica who has gone through a tertiary level and has received tertiary level education, whether they are in Acts and Ads in Hanover or in Gimme Me Bit in Clarendon or in Mansion Hill in Portland or wherever, because it is for all Jamaicans across the landscape. And we have made ourselves available because of how we feel important it is. Myself, Cabinet Secretary, Mrs. Mendez, Dr. Thorburn, Prof, Vassiani, and others. We are busy people, but we understand the critical moment, and we have given of our time to ensure that this program, which is so good for Jamaica, so useful for our growth and development, that we do our part to get it implemented and have it so that a successful program, so that we can develop our people. We are sending them to America, to Canada, to the United Kingdom, to Yale, to Harvard, to what's that one in England? Oxford, Cambridge. All they need to do is to have the qualification and get the acceptance in the institution, and everything will be taken care of. Could we do any better? No. So in this vein, I want to thank Minister Clark. We salute you, sir, and your team at the Ministry of Finance for, well, you control the purse, so we salute you for seeing that that initiative is taken, that the cost for that is taken and put aside in the budget, investing in the future of Jamaica. We appreciate that. Then I want to thank DFS, and he has a team there that is, where's Mrs. McCausland this morning? Is she not here? But see Donovan there? He and Mrs. McCausland and the rest of the team, they are geniuses. They work on the platforms, they work on how to eliminate and evaluate and what have you. They have done a marvelous job in sending through to us the candidates. And we really appreciate it. And then they do all the background work to ensure that we have the documents, we get some a priori knowledge and all of these activities that take place. We really, really appreciate that, Donovan and your team, and we thank you. At the end of each day, they collect the scores, they tabulate them, and they look at the average that is given and who has reached a certain level. And I'm taking a little time this morning just to expand on that. I'm not taking away Dr. Clark's thunder here. I'm not stealing Dr. Clark's thunder because I believe everyone deserves his honor and his praise and what have you. So I just want to say then, and really shut up, because this is not a speech, this is just an internal conversation we're having. Minister, your initiative to develop the human capital and provide world-class educational opportunities for the Jamaican public sector employees is ingenious and will reap rich rewards. And now to the scholarship recipients. They will pursue courses in economics, law, climate change, climate and public health, national security, engineering, integrated rural development, and we expect to see the impact of their graduate experience on the nation when they return to the marketplace. There are other areas that were not taken up this year, but we hope that with proper and more intense advertisement, those will be taken up next year. The Technical Secretariat provided, of course, as I mentioned, all the necessary service, and again we thank Mr. Jones, DFS, and Chairman of the Technical Secretariat, Mr. Donovan Leon, Mrs. Claudette McCausland, and other members of the team for their diligent work in processing of the applications, facilitating the interviews, and providing logistic support to the selection committee, appropriately, of course. The awards are being presented. The Marcus Garvey Scholarship. I want to say it properly because I'm in the presence of his descendant here, so I want to say it well and accurately. The scholarship is the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship. That is it. It is being presented today as we started that pattern last year on the birthday of the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, national hero. In fact, I would go on to say our first national hero. Earlier this morning, I participated in the floral tribute at his shrine commemorating the 135th anniversary of his birth. It was a reflective moment for me. And you don't go to a setting like that and a function like that and walk away unaffected, because you reflected on his years in the United States of America. You reflected on the work that he did trying to uplift his race. That was his primary focus. Whatever else happened in the process, remember, that was his mission. We reflected on the time he came back home, and also the fact that home was not so much home to him. So he migrated again. But the next time he came back home, he was back home as a national hero, recognized not only to us here in Jamaica, but throughout the world. Part of my undergraduate degree is in history. And I recall sitting in the class in the United States of America, and the name Marcus Garvey was brought into the fore, the work that he did and the foundation that he laid for other movements in the United States of America. So we have a Jamaican whose influence is in the Americas, is in Europe, is in Africa, and around the world. We have cause to be proud, and that is why I never miss a tribute ceremony for the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And I'm being a little long-winded this morning because we have the recipients there, and I want them to carry that in their heart and let that resonate in your bosom every time you take up your book to study. You're remembering Marcus Garvey and what he did for this country and for your race. And you have gotten the opportunity to walk in that legacy and follow in his footsteps when you come back to serve with passion, with pride, with dignity, through whatever trials and whatever challenge. You remember that you are a fellow of the Marcus Garvey, and what it means that no matter the difficulties that we will encounter in this nation, in building this nation, you're going to stick to it and never run away. And so I close with a quote from our hero. Never forget that intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. Therefore, remove yourself as far as possible from ignorance and seek as far as possible to be intelligent. Do well, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Sir Patrick Allen. I told you he was an educator. You learned a few things today from him, right? Right. So Marcus Garvey, who left school at the age of 14, might not have known if he'd set foot inside a university, having been thrust into adulthood so quickly. But though he eventually attended university, even at that time he did, many black men and women never had the opportunity and could only dream about the possibility. The Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship is more than a dream. It was established in 2020 by the government of Jamaica to offer Jamaican nationals and citizens employed in the public sector the opportunity to obtain a postgraduate degree from the competitive, appropriate, accredited universities in Jamaica, North America, and Europe. We now invite a man known for his intellect and governance of the country's finances, our very own Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. the Honorable Nadia Clark, who will now give his remarks.
Your Excellency, the Governor General of Jamaica and Chairman of the Selection Committee of the Marcus Garvey Scholarships, Cabinet Secretary, members of the Selection Committee of the Minister Marsha Smith, my colleague in the Ministry of Finance and Public Service, members of the Scholarship Selection Committee, awardees, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I don't know about you, but I thoroughly enjoyed the passionate presentation from His Excellency just now. Please give him another round of applause. The Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarships were conceived as a human capital development, a core human capital development strategy for Jamaica's public sector. If Jamaica is to climb the ladder of development, we are going to need to continue to invest in our public sector and have a public sector that's purpose-built with the necessary competence, skills, and experience to lead Jamaica forward. An important and critical part of this menu of skills and experience is the networks that come from studying advanced degrees at leading universities, including the universities here. It's useful for leaders in our public service to have exposure to the common nature of problems that developing countries face and how these problems are addressed or solved in other contexts and other situations. And we hope that by having a cohort size, that's not 1 or 2 each year, but we have made provisions for 30 each year. After a few years, we'll have a critical mass of young leaders in the public service who have this broad exposure and experience that Jamaica so desperately needs. You know, when I was a graduate student, I came across lots of Russians and Brazilians and Chinese. I did my graduate studies in the UK, and there were so many Brazilians, Russians, and Chinese who were sent there by their governments to come back and work in their public service. And that's where that idea was first planted in my mind. I said, wait a minute, and this is not so long ago, but if China can be sending their students to the UK to study and come back, if Brazil can be doing that, if Russia is doing that, here we're not talking about the private sector now, we're talking about the governments of Brazil, Russia, and China, making a concerted and intentional effort to ensure that they have a public sector that's fit for purpose and equipped. If they see that as appropriate and see that as instrumental to their success, what for smaller developing countries like ourselves? And from then, I said, if I ever had a chance, this was something that I would want to see happen in Jamaica. Because make no mistake, over the next several decades, we're going to have an opportunity in Jamaica that we haven't had like this before. But to take advantage of that opportunity in a way that continues to yield opportunity for further generations, we're going to have to be able to make the right kind of decisions. Public policy formulation, public policy implementation, public policy review and risk management requires expertise. It's not child's play. And we want to ensure that we have we want to make sure that persons who are leading at all levels in the public sector have the best possible preparation for that journey. And hence, we established this scholarship to achieve that aim. Now, in establishing the scholarship, it's very important you send a symbol or you send a signal of intent with how you curate the scholarship, how you name it, and who will make the decision as to the awardees. And there was no choice in my mind that the appropriate name for the scholarship was the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship, after our first national hero. Marcus Garvey, as His Excellency remarked, is a figure of international significance, an individual who has inspired peoples from many continents, and he happens to be our own. But the strands of Marcus Garvey's teachings that have survived, I would put it to you, are limited to only 1 or 2 strands out of, say, 12. It's kind of like the tribes of Israel, that we knew there were 12, but now we can only identify 1, essentially. That's how I see the teachings of Marcus Garvey. You know, I came across there's an online archive of his work at the University of California in Los Angeles, and it's available online. You should look at it, especially scholarship awardees. And I was amazed at the depth and the breadth. And this is about 2 decades ago, and I spent a lot of time going through and educating myself. And as I say, part of the purpose of naming the scholarship after him is for us to have a chance for the other strands of Marcus Garvey's teaching to also find expression. And one of those strands is in keeping with the quote that His Excellency finished on. Marcus Garvey believed in excellence in all forms as an end in itself, and never saw any field of endeavor as being outside of the potential competence of our peoples. You know, you grew up in Jamaica and you hear, Lord of mercy, no man, you shouldn't play classical music. That is not what, allow me to be frank, that's not what black people do. Or you shouldn't study this, it's not appropriate for you. Or you shouldn't do that. Marcus Garvey said, accomplish what you will. And the ethos of the scholarship is that Jamaica can be who we conceive it to be. If we have one person can't do it, two people can't do it, three people can't do it, we need a whole nation of people. And the idea behind the Marcus Garvey Scholarship is to give this opportunity for advancement to as many people as possible, so that we don't limit ourselves as a country or limit what we can achieve. You know, Marcus Garvey also said, I mean, there's so many quotes, you could spend an entire day discussing what he had to say. He said, you know, search for opportunity wherever you can find it and seize it. And if you don't find it, make your own opportunity. Because he was a part of his teachings that have not really survived. Marcus Garvey was an entrepreneur through and through. Do you know, well, you all know, I'm sure, that Marcus Garvey attempted to take a company public on the New York Stock Exchange in the 1930s. In fact, he did. If I were to tell you that in the nearly 100 years since he did that, no person from Jamaica has ever taken a company public on the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, this is somebody who was 100 years ahead of his time. It would be outlandish even today to think that I'm going to take my company public on the New York Stock Exchange. Nobody today, there's no Jamaican company that trades on the New York Stock Exchange today. But in the, not 1930s, 1920s, I believe it was, Marcus Garvey, that was his vision. He didn't limit himself in any way. And it is fitting to name the scholarship after him, because we don't want you to limit yourselves in any way. As recipients of the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Scholarship, you are not limited. You don't limit yourself in what you can achieve. And you don't limit yourself in what you believe your country can achieve, despite our challenges. So, in this 135th year of his birth, and in the 60th anniversary of Jamaica's independence, the restoration, or the continued restoration of Marcus Garvey's place in Jamaica's past, present, and future is a project we are committed to, which is why in the redesign of Jamaica's currency, Marcus Garvey will feature as the only person who stands alone on any banknote of Jamaica. Everybody, you see all of the noise about one particular note. People not paying attention to what is happening. We have made an intentional step to ensure that the legacy of Marcus Garvey is here for the present and the future, so that we as a nation continue to see ourselves as a people with destiny and promise and potential that is to be realized. When the project of the Jamaican currency started, our national heroes were Marcus Garvey was on our banknote. He was on the 50-cent note. But as we went through our economic meanderings over 50 years, the value went down, and today Marcus Garvey is on some coins that you don't use, you use, but you don't look on. And we believe That's not where he is in our minds, and therefore in our notes, that's not where he should be either. And so we're very proud of that fact. I wanted to share with you in closing when he was first put on our banknotes, the question was asked, why are you going back and putting all people from the past? And the proponent at the time, who was the Minister of Finance, said, a people who recognize their history, recognize the role of those who went before them in thought and in action, and understand to what extent those who went before them contributed to the things they have achieved and enjoy. If we do not understand this and give credit where credit is due, we are likely to give credit where it is not due. We are likely to give all the credit of our achievements to foreign benefactors without understanding that our own people played a significant role in achieving what we enjoy today. And when we do this, we are naturally led to be influenced that our people and our country are not capable of achieving the things which we fight for, but that we must always look elsewhere for help, for assistance, and for leadership. So in establishing the Marcus Garvey Scholarship, in as much as putting Marcus Garvey on our $100 bill, which is going to come in a few months, what we are doing intentionally is to ensure that we continue to ascribe the successes that we have had so far, ascribe the path that we've been able to climb to our own efforts. Because if we fail to do that, we will forever, and you see elements of that all the time, that we can only progress and only move forward with, the reason for our success is because of outside assistance and intervention, not recognizing that we are responsible for our own success. So with that, Your Excellency, I just want to thank you for your chairing of the selection committee. I know it's a lot of work given the scholarship, given the numbers of scholarship, to all members of the selection committee. I see Dr. Thorburn, Cabinet Secretary. I don't know if any other selection committee members are here. Ah, right. And to DFS as well, and the team at the Ministry of Finance for the administration. It's a huge undertaking to administer. And congratulations to all the scholarship awardees. You are the second cohort, and you're blazing a trail. And we're looking forward. We're in Jamaica. This is Jamaica taxpayers' money. Jamaica's investing in you, and we know it will be an investment that will bear much fruit in due course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Clark. We now invite Dr. Julius Garvey, vascular surgeon and son of the Right Excellent Marcus Garvey, to give us some short remarks.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, Honorable Nigel Clark, all other protocol being accepted. It's indeed an honor for me to be here on this, I would say, momentous occasion. Apparently it's the second one. I missed the first one. You know, Marcus Garvey always signed his letters, "Your humble servant." And public service is about serving the public. And I'm very, very much appreciative of the fact that there is this vision for the public sector scholarships, and that it's named after my father. The scholarships are named after my father. I think that bodes well in terms of the development of Jamaica, because my father was always about self-development. He was about knowledge, he was about education, and he was about self-reliance. And Jamaica is a small country. We've gone through the horrors of slavery, the oppression of colonialism, and now we're celebrating our 60th anniversary of independence. We have an expression, we're little but we talawa, and it's true. We're small, but we have a great vision. I think this shows the public sector vision, the vision of the government through its public sector scholarships, and it bodes very, very well for the future of Jamaica, because one has to invest in its capital, and of course the greatest capital that we have in Jamaica is our human capital. And we have showed that by people such as Usain Bolt, Bob Marley, and et cetera, et cetera. And so many of us in the diaspora, who have gone abroad and we've competed and we've done Jamaica proud. So we have the capital and we must invest in the capital. And I'm very, very proud that this investment in the public sector capital is named after my father. And my only disappointment, as Your Excellency said, is that this year you didn't have more people applying. I think that has to definitely be rectified, because maybe it shouldn't be 30, maybe it should be 50 or whatever, but the more, the merrier. And again, congratulations to those who have conceived it, those who have contributed to making it happen, and those who have received the scholarships. And the scholarship is not so much about what you have done, but what you are going to do in the future and how you're going to serve your fellow Jamaicans and to make Jamaica proud of you. So congratulations to all the recipients. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garvey. We really appreciate you joining us this morning for this particular awards ceremony. Now, more story time. From an early age, Garvey saw himself speaking to the masses. He pictured scenes with large audiences who all came to hear him speak. He rehearsed his speeches. Years later, when these visions seemed to be about to begin to become reality, he got an opportunity to do his first public lecture. He did what he practiced as a child, memorize his speech. Surely he was ready. So confidently he stepped up in front of the room, which was filled to capacity. A lot more people were in that room than you are here, waiting to hear what he had to say. The beginning wasn't so good at all. Between his shaky words and less than captivating voice at the time, and the jeering and the chuckling from the crowd, it caused such an instability for him that he actually fell off stage. But Marcus Garvey was not one to stay defeated by anything or anyone. And so after leaving the venue, he wandered into a tabernacle led by a man known as Billy Sunday. Billy Sunday was a white evangelist and seemed to attract large crowds. Garvey paid attention and adopted his style of speaking. He was now finally ready. The world was his stage, and he was going to spread his message far and wide. Well, this performer is no stranger to a stage, and he is here to pay tribute to the Right Excellent Marcus Garvey. Welcome, Mr. Omal Wright from the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission.
Greetings, beautiful people. Greetings. Before I begin, I want everyone to say, up you mighty race. Let me hear you, man. Up you mighty race. Lovely. Every black girl can win. Every black king.
Garvey.
Your skin is not a sin.
Garvey.
Love the skin that you're in.
Garvey.
Jamaicans, get up off your bums. Philosophies and opinions should be taught in the curriculum. Bleaching out your color, hiding from yourselves. Neprezone and metasol can hardly stay up on the shelf. Migrating to America, everybody wants to be an American. The other day I heard Erica say, I'm no African. Back to Africa, Maja. You are an insane guy. Where them people starving of hunger and them mouth full of fly. You go back to Africa. You are an insane guy. With your Marcus Garvey, Steve Biko and your Rastafari. She said, I married to a US citizen. So I is young K. I'm not going to Africa where people eat donkey. And on that day, before Erica departed, she said Africans live with monkeys. That's how the whole AIDS thing started. But every black girl can win.
Garvey.
Every black boy is a king.
Garvey.
Your skin is not a sin.
Garvey.
Love the skin that you're in.
Garvey.
Give thanks. So I was looking at the profile for the recipients. And I know that the journey must have been a hard one, you know? People will see the glory, but they don't know the story. Run track. Yeah, man. So never let your address block your success. Obstacles you have to overcome. But if you believe, you will achieve, all right? The journey of 1,000 miles begins in one step. Broken child still a smiling number one prepper. Before you judge, listen my views. Can you take a walk in my shoes? So can
You walk in my shoes. Will you listen to my cry?
If you believe, you will achieve.
Someday I must reach my dream. Born to fly.
Can you
You
walk?
walk in my shoes.
And will you listen?
To my cries. One day I must reach my dream. Born to
Let me tell you a story. Me, the little child, slower growing wild. People always ask me why I never smile. What to smile about in the tenement yard? Forget a dinner money, me a figure and betray a card. Grew up without mama kisses or hugs. Sold drugs for the thugs to buy myself a logs. At nights, there was no place to rest my head. Sometimes I found shelter in a broken down shed. In the broken land, I slept on a bag of sand. See, I was sinking, no one to hold my hand. Quickly going down, I couldn't turn my life around. Now you see my face, it wears a permanent frown. What am I to do after all I've been through? Can you take a walk in my shoe? What am I to do after all I've been through? Can you take a walk in my shoe? So can you walk?
walk in my shoes.
And will you listen?
To my cries.
One day I
must reach my dream. Born to fly.
up you mighty race. 15 years old, weighed 80 pounds. Malnourished, pure skin and bones. The system was stiff. My mind began to shift. Started to shoplift until I found I had the gift. Found I had the sound to use this microphone. Then educate all towns about downtown. Like many before us, they try to ignore us, but they can never ignore my verses and my chorus. So I began to rise, hear me vocalize. Wolf in disguise, it doesn't never socialize. The one that victimize, the one that criticize, the one that despise. You wanna see my demise, refuse to hear my cries. Told me to stop my nice, but I opened my eyes, open my eyes. Recipients, you are born to fly, born to fly. The journey of 1,000 miles begins exit one step. Broken child still a smiling number one rep. Before you judge, listen my views. Can you take a walk in my shoes?
Walk in my shoes. Will you listen to my cries? One day I must reach my dream. Want to fly.
Any man without any knowledge of his past is like a tree without roots. So never forget where you're coming from, alright? Pick up Jamaica.
Blessed love.
Thank you, thank you.
From your love Jamaica, put up your hand. From your love Jamaica, put up on your hand. Jam down, baby. Jam down, baby. Are we at the future generation? Jam down, baby. Jam down, baby. Are we at the future with the nation? I rise from Kingston City, nurtured on Kingston City, fed by elders' wisdom, soon come run this kingdom. Who knew that we would be greater, and that a female would lead Jamaica? With all the falls to celebrate the strength, Jamaica we 60 independent. Jam down, baby. Jam down, baby. Are we at the future generation? Jam down, baby. Jam down, baby. Are we at the future with the nation? This is the land of kings and queens. Jamaicans must reign supreme. One love, one heart, united in a dream, working together as a team. Scientists claim is a mystery, fastest human in a history. If a reggae music car blazing the track, salute the green, the gold and the black. If a reggae music car blazing the track, salute the green, the gold and the black. Jump down, baby, jump down, baby. Are we at the future generation? Jump down, baby, jump down, baby. Are we at the future with the nation?
Big up Ministry of Finance. Give thanks. Maximum respect. Thank you.
Before you go, Jamal, I know that you perform, but you're not really the big star. You know, the big star was our little friend in the green jacket, but we need her name. What's her name, darling? Ngozi. Ngozi, what's your last name? Ngozi Wright. Everybody remember that name, right? Ngozi Wright, young queen, jam down baby. Everybody feel like a jam down baby right now? Powerful, powerful performances. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We now invite Dr. Tanisha Ingleton, Managing Director of the Heart NSTA Trust, to deliver the main address.
How beautiful was that? Could we just clap them again? I sat there listening and I was heartened, I was encouraged. That was absolutely brilliant. Your Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, or Governor General, Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, or Cabinet Secretary, Ambassador Douglas Saunders, or Deputy Financial Secretary, Mr. Wayne Jones, other ministries and heads of agencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, And allow me to acknowledge at this time the most critical people in the room, our scholarship recipients. Shanique Graham, could I see Shanique Graham? Theresa McDaniel, Simone Murray, Gabrielle MacLeod, Elvis Bennett, Daniela Uter, Kensley Shea, Anisha Lancaster, Anastasia Rose, Mark Davis, Latoya Richards Franklin, Natalie Campbell Forbes, Kenvoy Groves, and Astrid Batchelor. These are the names that we expect to hear revolutionizing the public service. We have heard much about the Right Excellence Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and what we can all take away is a spirit of excellence. And excellence, my scholarship recipients, is demonstrable. It is not a mystery. It is not a miracle. It is nothing that we need to be debating over. It is demonstrable. And so we need to see you revolutionizing the public service. Now, the government in Jamaica, in its cabinet decision 4909 in November 2, 2009, established its position in rationalizing the public service as a pathway to improved professionalism, effectiveness, efficiency, accountability, and responsiveness to citizens' needs, leading to the establishment of a new strategic human resource management function. This function was mandated to provide strategic direction through policies and frameworks that support the development and management of the public service through the recruitment, the retention of competent and motivated public officers at all levels. And these public officers must be capable of delivering efficient, effective, and responsive services to the public. Now, the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Program is a significant initiative demonstrating the government's commitment to build the organizational capacity of the public service. At the core of the scholarship initiative is the recognition that people are the most valuable assets. Now, I want us to look at that a little bit, because no matter how much we invest in developing systems and processes, in creating policies, in improving our ICT systems, the greatest investment any government can make is an investment in its human capital. And this, yes, thank you, you can clap for that. It is indeed the greatest investment. And this is not an intuitive truth. Economies across several countries affirm it. Our people, they are our best and they are our most valuable resource. The Marcus Garvey Scholarship then signals the government of Jamaica's clear commitment to investing in human capital development and its intention to building a culture of continuous learning. And so I want to segue a little bit into the areas that the scholarship chose to focus on. And I want you to see how strategic our government has been. Because when you look at the areas of education, health, law and governance, ICT, financial reform or resilience, climate change, these are the areas that we need to catapult Jamaica to first world status. So those of us who had the opportunity to get the scholarship to strengthen our knowledge in education, we should see from you increased knowledge and skills that will yield improved economic outcomes for both you as an individual and our country. For those of us who had the opportunity to be benefiting from health, we should see from you improved health outcomes, global health security, and economic growth. You should be at the decision-making table, influencing the development of Jamaica. For those of you who got the opportunity in law and governance, we should see from you improved legal system and justice system. You did not just get this to further your education. You got this so that the significant changes that we need to make in the public sector can be made. For those of you who are benefiting in the area of ICT, we need to see increased technological innovation. We need a different narrative around ICT. And for those of you who had the opportunity in financial reform, we need to see reduced associated costs to the economy and vulnerabilities in the financial markets. You should be providing advice, wisdom, doing the research, and changing the narrative in the financial sector. And for climate change, reduce the negative impacts of climate change on human capital and reduction in carbon footprint. But let me say something else to you, my scholarship recipients. No matter how degreed you are, no matter how knowledgeable you are, no matter how many scholarships you receive to advance your thinking, there are some core values that if we do not embody those as public servants, we will not move. And oftentimes, these core values are neglected. And so whilst we educate, let us not forget the critical values that are needed to move our country forward. And so the issue of accountability can never be old. Within the public service, and our cabinet secretary will tell you, we must clothe ourselves with accountability. As public servants, we operate according to established policies, established principles, codes of conduct, and the standards of the government of Jamaica. And therefore, if we're accountable, we're going to open ourselves to scrutiny at every level. Public servants, your names must not be associated with anything that is not excellence. You're going to accept responsibility for the quality and the timeliness of deliverables in the most cost-effective manner. And you're going to take appropriate actions to ensure that your obligations are met. We hear too much negative narrative of our public servants. And we are here to change that narrative. And so whilst we will educate ourselves at the highest levels, we must remember the fundamental principles that it will eventually create the changes that we want to see. Because when we're locked in those rooms around the decision-making table, what will really make the change is not so much the degree in law, or the master's in finance, or the PhD in ICT. Those are not so much the things that will create the kind of conversations and decisions that we want. It's the softer pieces that we're often so afraid to speak about. So please, remember that you have to have a sincere and dedicated focus on the success of our value for taxpayers' money. Because that is really what it is. And another critical value, and I call it a value because indeed it is innovation. We did not study to submit to the status quo. We study so that we can improve the systems and processes to make for a more efficient government. So coming out of any tertiary institution, there must be an intense desire to innovate. We are now functioning in a VUCA environment. The COVID-19 pandemic has popularized the concept which would have been about so many years ago. But we recognize in that period that volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity That is what was leading us. And there is no way we could survive the pandemic if we didn't have minds that were agile, if we didn't switch mode from being complex to simple, if we didn't open the various networks, and if we didn't reach for and insisted on a high degree of flexibility. And so, scholarship recipients, you have to innovate. You have to shift your mindsets to be adaptive. We have to be committed to developing fresh ideas that provide solutions, ideas that will respond to the changing needs of the Jamaican citizen. And all of us in this room, we have to encourage those new ideas, and we have to start questioning conventional approaches. We have to constantly redefine the standard of excellence in everything we do. And we must understand that we're either going to stay relevant, or sooner or later, someone will tell us that we're no longer needed at the table. So we must innovate. And then the next value is inclusivity. I say to people all the while, we either collaborate or die. Jamaica is too small to function and exist on its own. And as public servants, with this particular scholarship, we're going to move to making those connections and networks and include individuals in our workspaces in the decision-making process. Your colleagues must see a difference in your posture, a difference in your language, and a difference in the way you make decisions. So we will recognize the importance and value of treating individuals of all groups, regardless of talents, individual qualities, socioeconomic status. We'll treat them as equals. We will create and sustain interdependent corporations across all levels of systems to deliver on the priorities of government. When you're making your policies, ensure equal access to opportunities. That is why you've been given this scholarship, to make a difference. When we're dealing with people, we will deal with them the same way, regardless of power, regardless of position. That is what makes an excellent public servant. When we're going to ensure that our policies and our procedures and our processes do not intentionally discriminate. And we're going to build trust and cultivate a respectful environment. When we do that, we're looking at the consummate public servant. And then there is the integrity. Yes, that piece that no matter how brilliant you are, no matter how accomplished you are, if you do not have integrity, nobody will respect you. Absolutely no one. They may smile with you in the public spaces, but what they truly believe about you is what's spoken outside of your presence. And you want your name to be linked to positivity in a room in which you're not present. My team members, my scholarship recipients, I too have received a scholarship, not the Marcus Garvey postgraduate scholarship, but I understand the importance of being given a chance, an opportunity to raise the level of my thinking. It is no simple thing. It has to be used to advance our nation. And so, the expectation is that wearing this scholarship, you wear this forever. Once you fulfill the requirements, it's not taken away from you. This is Marcus Mosiah Garvey we're talking about. So we're expecting transparency, honesty, and consistency in everything that we do. We're expecting you to communicate clearly and directly in a respectful manner and to value the personal and professional space of your colleagues and your customers. We expect you to act in accordance with the rules and regulations of the government of Jamaica and to hold yourselves to the highest levels of accountability and the highest standards of professionalism and ethics. And then there is the service excellence. It's at the core of what we do. If we do not deliver efficient services, there will constantly be a narrative that we need to revolutionize the public service because we're not getting the kind of effective operations that we desire. And remember, we're not serving machines. We're not serving tables and chairs. We're serving people. People who need us to understand that on the other end of the line, the phone can't be ringing 25 times and I have credit that I have to buy. By the time you pick up the phone, we run out of credit. Those are the things. Those are the little things that we're not paying attention to. The people that we're serving. That when they come to the offices, they sit and they wait for hours before anybody attends to them. Why? That they keep getting the same story running around over and over and over again. That the different things that they apply for takes months, sometimes years for there to be a response. We have to change that. And that is what the Ministry of Finance and Planning, that is what DFS Jones, that is what the Honorable Dr. Nigel Clark, that is the kind of work that the committee, the technical group, when they sat down to do the short listing and to ensure that we're putting a set of people within the system that will make it better for all of us. And so we must consistently challenge ourselves to execute flawlessly and deliver the highest quality service to our citizens. To enable excellence, we, when we're sitting on the other side of the table, we must seek the best talent. So do not try to recruit yourselves, because we need diversity in the public service. When you sit on the other side of the table, recruiting somebody, look at the skills, the competencies, the expertise. Look at what you do not have, so that the brilliance of those individuals can shine on you and make for a better service. Because we can't afford to have the same kind of thinking in the room. We need the diversity. And so, my scholarship recipients, this is an excellent opportunity. You are placed in a position where you, my scholarship recipients, we're all depending on you to change the narrative. COVID taught us that there are no predetermined responses to any challenge. COVID taught us that there are no established rules or procedure, no clearly identifiable skills, no trained experts to deal with challenges. And so we have to think differently. We have to pull on other individuals from different sides of the table, and we have to recognize that we do not always have to be the brightest person in a room. Because if you're the brightest person in a room, it means that you need to find another room. Because you must be challenged. Your mind must be stretched. And if you're in a room where no one can stretch your mind, you're useless in that particular space. Marcus Garvey said, in my closing, he said, he has said so many things, and it's just absolutely brilliant to read. He said, we have a beautiful history, and we will create another in the future which will astonish the world. Today, he would have been 135 years old. Today, if Marcus Garvey were alive, the way that we're operating, the services that we offer, the way we treat each other, would that honor him? Let's reflect, let's think. When we're in our workplaces, are we assuming the kind of posture and speaking the kind of language that the right excellent would want to hear? So I'm asking you as you go forward, astonish the world. Astonish the public service. Astonish yourselves and make the public service a place in which the right, excellent Marcus Garvey would be proud and even happier to serve. Thank you.
Wow. Some strong but powerful words there from Dr. Ingleton. In case you didn't realize, she's all about educational leadership, instructional leadership, and she gave a lot of instructions today. How many of you will take up the charge? How many of you? I expect to see all my scholarship recipients hold their hands up. Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Ingleton. Marcus Garvey, he was equally as powerful as he was hated by some. He influenced millions of people, and this led to a fear that maybe he could cause an uprising that could potentially harm maybe a certain set of people. He also became a target. Some would also describe him as an egoist who rarely listened to anyone else's counsel. But Marcus made his decisions, and he was prepared to rise or fall by them. He once said, always think yourself as a perfect being and be satisfied with yourself. If that's not confidence, I don't know what that is. It's that characteristic of confidence in self that has led to our awardees being recognized today. So I'm going to quickly run through the eligibility criteria for the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship. You must be a Jamaican national or citizen, public sector employee, whether permanently appointed, temporary, or on contract with at least 2 years continuous service, a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university to a sufficiently high standard to be admitted to graduate studies in the participating universities, and under 45 years old at the time of application. Marcus Garvey also said, always try to associate with people from whom you can learn something or the knowledge that you want in this world, and all you have to do is go and seek it. Now, I won't go through the overview of the scholarship, but I just wanted to make mention of this one particular very important part, and the minister is very proud of this one too. The Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarships cover 100% of the tuition costs for the eligible programs at the participating universities. A round of applause for that, please. Now we'll get into the presentation of the ceremonial certificates for the awardees. I'll ask all our recipients to stand, please. And I'd like to invite Dr. Diana Thorburn, a member of the selection committee, to hand out the first set of certificates. All right, let's go. From the Ministry of Justice, will be specializing in public administration, master's degree, Anisha Lancaster. Ms. Lancaster said, my hope for Jamaica is that each person starting today will do the things they talk about, become the change they want to see, and thereby rally the finances, innovations, reforms, and education fire that will ignite this nation for greatness. Our next recipient will be doing a master's degree in the area of public health, and coming from the Ministry of Health, Dr. Astrid Batchelor. We certainly hope you get to have your say in designing an effective healthcare system to better serve the people of this country, region, and beyond. Congratulations. Our next recipient will be doing a master's degree in the area of law and is from the Ministry of Justice, Shanique Graham. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at the future Director of Public Prosecutions. Remember her name? Congratulations. Our next recipient will be doing a master's degree in the area of climate change, environment, science, and policy, and currently works with the Scientific Research Council, Ms. Gabrielle McLeod. Well, Ms. McLeod, you are definitely one step closer to your goal of facilitating effective use and management of endemic resources towards pivotal solutions to Jamaica's energy dependencies. Well, we have some really ambitious persons in this group. Our next recipient will be pursuing a master's degree in the area of economics, currently employed at the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Ms. Teresa McDaniel. Ms. McDaniel considers it important to have a data-driven culture in Jamaica, and we agree, as data will always be necessary for the decisions that truly create the country we know Jamaica has the potential to be. Congratulations, Ms. McDaniel. Pursuing a master's degree in the area of engineering and currently at the Mannings High School, Anastasia Rose. A round of applause, please. Thank you, Ms. Rose. And pursuing a PhD in the area of economics, currently at the Ministry of Justice, Latoya Richards Franklin. Ms. Franklin is actually one of two persons who will be pursuing a PhD. Now, you have a passion for transformation through leadership. We look forward to seeing what you do and given the opportunity to have the level of influence that you will have. Congratulations. And we want to thank Dr. Thorburn for presenting our first set of certificates. We now invite our State Minister, the Honorable Marcia Smith. The first recipient in this group is from, can you guess? You can't guess? You can't say why I'm so excited? Well, he's from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, and he is the second PhD candidate specializing in the area of economics, Mr. Mark Davis. Now, Mr. Davis shares the same desire as so many of us here to improve GOJ's public service delivery system and drive national development through efficient and effective public policy management. Now is the time. Our next recipient will be pursuing a master's degree in the area of national security and strategic studies, currently with the JCF, Kensley Shea. Well, Mr. Shea, we definitely need people like you who appreciate the need for innovative policy, methods to effectively fight against crime and corruption in order to positively develop our beautiful country. Thank you so much. Our next recipient will be pursuing a master's in public administration and is currently with the Ministry of Education, Mr. Garvey Groves. Mr. Groves sees that unattached and at-risk youth in Jamaica as a group that needs focus and attention, and that the reduction in the numbers is critical for achieving Vision 2030. Congratulations, Mr. Groves. Our next recipient will be pursuing a master's degree in the area of law and currently works with the Jamaica Customs Agency, Natalie Campbell Forbes. Ms. Forbes, you are definitely on your way to influencing the formulation of the legal framework and policy development, which will eventually strengthen the rule of law here in Jamaica. Our next recipient will be pursuing a master's degree in the area of national security and strategic studies, currently with the Ministry of Science, Energy, and Technology, Mr. Elvis Bennett. We have two more persons to receive awards, but only one is here with us, as the other one is actually not able to join us today. So we're going to welcome, pursuing a master's degree in the area of national security and strategic studies, currently with the JCF, Simone Murray. Well, Ms. Murray, we will definitely remember your name because we look forward to the influence you want to have in sustainable policy changes. Lots of new policies coming. I'm so excited. Thank you, Minister Smith. And just to make mention of our last recipient, she will be pursuing a master's degree in the area of public health, and she's currently at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital, Daniela, Utah. One of her missions is to develop evidence-based interventions promoting, aiding, and prolonging life of individuals with non-communicable diseases, neurological, cardiopulmonary, and orthopedic pathologies in primary and secondary health institutions. I think, Ms. Utah, that Mr. Marcus Garvey, a St. Anne's Bay son, would not just be proud of the association by location, but of the ambitious undertaking that you will be embarking on. And that ends our presentation of all our recipients. Another round of applause for them. Thank you so much. You may be seated. We now invite Dr. Astrid Batchelor to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the scholarship recipients.
His Excellency, the Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, Governor General of Jamaica and Chairman of the Scholarship Selection Committee, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, the State Minister of Finance, Ms. Marcia Smith, the Cabinet Secretary, Ambassador Douglas Saunders, honored dignitaries, and a special welcome to Dr. Julius Garvey, who is here with us today, Master of Ceremonies, Ms. Camille Sinclair, our keynote speaker, Dr. Tanisha Ingleton, my fellow Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship recipients, the media, and our distinguished guests, both in person and online. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Astrid Batchelor, a proud recipient of this year's Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship. It is truly my privilege and honor to give this vote of thanks on behalf of all the Marcus Garvey Scholarship recipients here today. We would like to express our sincere thanks to the Government of Jamaica, the Ministry of Finance, and the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Scholarship Technical Secretariat and Selection Committee for giving us this most excellent and generous opportunity to invest in our studies and to further our studies, both here in Jamaica and internationally, to better our nation. We are indeed grateful for this opportunity that has been afforded to us through this scholarship, and we look forward eagerly in garnering knowledge and experience, which we hope we will be able to use in moving our country to a new level. We would like to express our gratitude to the performers, Mr. Omari Wright and Miss Jamaica Baby Ngozi Wright, and the guest speaker, Dr. Ingleton. We are all inspired by your words. We will remember to be accountable, innovative, inclusive, and always act with integrity in everything that we do. I am sure I speak on behalf of my fellow recipients when I say there are some remarkable persons who have brought us to this point and place in our lives, easing the way for us to succeed. These persons are our families, friends, teachers, mentors, and well-wishers. We cannot thank you enough for your kind, encouraging support throughout all these years. I hope we have made you all proud. We would like to thank all the persons who contributed to the success of this beautiful event this afternoon. Thank you for sparing your valuable time and gracing us with this function to celebrate. Truly, we are touched by your kindness. To my fellow scholars, congratulations. Let us accomplish what we will. Study hard, work diligently and creatively as we pledge the wisdom and courage of our minds and the strength and vigor of our bodies in the service of our fellow citizens, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. I thank you all, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Batchelor. Chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people. Action, self-reliance, the vision of self, and the future have been the only means by which the oppressed have seen and realized the light of their own freedom. That self-reliance he speaks of probably began with a hard lesson from his father. You see, his father, being a mason, used to prepare graves in the St. Anne's Bay Cemetery. Marcus used to go with him. One night, his father sent him down inside one of the graves and removed the ladder. Despite Marcus's crying out to his dad, Garvey Sr. let him stay in the grave. Marcus eventually realized that he could rely on no one but himself. By the time he died at the age of 52, he had built a movement spanning several continents, millions of followers, and published more literature than could be counted. Despite the disappointments and failures along his journey, his objective remained the same. He never wavered in his efforts and perhaps accomplished something bigger than he could ever have imagined. So, recipients, congratulations on being awarded the Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship. Know that you are standard bearers for your country. When the world says your name, what will they say about you? Thank you to His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, for hosting this event. Special thanks to the production team for today's live streaming, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. It was a pleasure being your Master of Ceremonies. I'm Camille Sinclair. With God's dearest blessings, I'll leave you for a while. One love.